Evening. Hello, Mr. Chair. I wish to greet His Excellency the Ambassador of Afghanistan, the Ambassador of Indonesia, my colleagues in the Foreign Service, other countries, colleagues and guests. I'd like to just mention that it's an honor for me to be speaking alongside two distinguished ambassadors. I'd like to extend the greetings of my own ambassador, Benito Valeriano, for this summit, and it's an honor for us to be here.
You should be promoted very quickly.
Well, I can say, I prepared some notes. I can say that the building blocks for cooperation between nations, because the theme is possibilities for cooperation, involves a lot of hard work. As the former director for Central and South Asia division of my Ministry of External Affairs, I was involved in organizing a tour of the heads of Afghan technical and vocational schools in a productive tour of the Philippines, including Polytechnic University of the Philippines, University of the Philippines, Los Baños, and these are the building blocks for cooperation. But I'd also like to share, Mr. Chair, what has been happening between Philippines and India in terms of bilateral relations. India's rise to prominence, both economically and politically, augurs well for the region and for the Philippines. Now, both the Philippines and India have several avenues of cooperation that are in place, and many more will be opened up, including in education cooperation, and I will mention more details later. With the inaugural meeting of the Philippines-India Joint Commission on Bilateral Cooperation last March 2011 in New Delhi, the Philippines and India agreed to continue to hold regular policy consultations and security dialogue. And we have renamed our security dialogue as strategic dialogue. So India and Philippines are becoming closer together. There are three main working groups in our joint commission: the working group on tourism, the working group on agricultural cooperation, and the working group on trade and investment. The Philippines and India, both with strong, decades-long democratic traditions, are natural allies and partners. And our bilateral relations are on the cusp of being re-energized following more exchange of visits by our respective leaders. India's membership in the emerging economic superpowers, encapsulated, for example, in BRICS, or Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, is cause for excitement and anticipation. Of course, the signing of the 4 agreements encompassing the ASEAN-India Free Trade Agreement last August 13, 2009 in Bangkok, and the subsequent negotiations for liberalizing trade in services and investment is even more exciting within ASEAN. For the Philippines, these developments bring the region, our region, ever closer together, where India's look east has met with an enthusiastic response from the Philippines. And within this context, we will see greater collaboration, including in education. India plays an important part in the Philippine experience. The Philippines is Asia's first republican democracy, 1898. India is the world's largest democracy. Now, both are therefore standard bearers for freedom and democracy in the region, and the Philippines and India are natural allies, not only because they have a shared common language, which is English. Both are Asian countries that are animated by vibrant democratic traditions based on republican ideals. So Asia's first democracy and Asia's largest democracy are therefore surely headed for closer ties. I will skip some of my other notes. ASEAN-India interaction has nowhere to go but up, building from strength to strength, from synergy to synergy. Clearly, it is an exciting time to be in India. It is also an exciting time for India to be part of the East Asian and ASEAN milieu. Today, in the 21st century, both the Philippines and India are as fervent in bringing the fruits of democracy won by their respective forefathers to each of their citizens. So education becomes very important. That is why both governments are focused on working very hard to achieve national development for their peoples. At a time when both the Philippines and India are basking in the good news about their nation's sustained and strong economic gains, Asia is leading the world in economic recovery. Today, ASEAN can rightly be considered a powerhouse in Asia. ASEAN spans over an area of 4.46 million square kilometers, 3% of the total land area of the planet, with a population of approximately 600 million people, 8.8% of the world population. And in 2010 to 2011, its combined nominal GDP had grown to US $1.8 trillion. If ASEAN were a single country, and our distinguished ambassador from Indonesia is here with us, it would rank as the 9th largest economy in the world and the 3rd largest in Asia in terms of nominal GDP. So why is ASEAN important to India, indeed to Central and South Asia as well? ASEAN's aims include the acceleration of economic growth, social progress, cultural development among its members, the protection of the peace and stability of the region, and to provide opportunities for member countries to discuss differences peacefully. Without these, there can be no cooperation on the ground, including education, energy, infrastructure, connectivity. So this has to be set first, and our founding fathers have done that for us. The Philippines and ASEAN are open to India and vice versa, Mr. Chair. ASEAN and East Asia, including India, is open for business. The ASEAN-India Free Trade Agreement, Agreement in Trade in Services, there have been 2 previously held ASEAN-India business fairs and business conclaves, are only the beginning. Very soon, direct Manila-Mumbai flights will be in the offing. Right now, there are more than 80,000 Indians in the Philippines and about 3,000 Filipinos in India. I agree with the previous speaker that ASEAN and SAARC should look into cooperation in education as well. Indian investments, Mr. Chair, are welcome in my country, including in education. It was only in 1976 that the Philippines-India bilateral relations started to normalize from their Cold War stupor. When Mr. Aditya Birla, one of India's successful industrialists, met with then-President Ferdinand Marcos to explore possibilities of setting up joint ventures in the Philippines. Today, the Birlas operate a call center in the Philippines and a yarn mill. So today, many Indian companies from steel to IT-enabled service providers like Wipro have followed Birla's lead, and even Tata Motors. Bilateral trade between the Philippines and India, while officially pegged only at just over $1 billion, is ripe for expansion, with the balance of trade in the past 5 years being in India's favor. As for Filipinos in India, they are estimated to be 3,000 and are scattered all over the vast subcontinent. This, however, has not hindered the Filipino communities in such far-off places as Orissa, Kerala, and Goa, and those from New Delhi, the national capital region, and Punjab, to showcase Filipino values of pagkakaisa, unity, and pagtutulungan, the ability to help each other, and relations between India on the ground level are very active. The Philippines has been working with the government of India to allow free movement of more Filipino professionals to India. In this regard, the Ministry of External Affairs, the Ministry of Home Affairs of India have allowed Filipinos to avail of tourist visa on arrival facilities from Indian immigration offices in Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai, and Kolkata international airports. So these are building blocks. Therefore, more and more Filipino citizens are now visiting India and staying in India as executives and valued white-collar workers. in multinational companies, such as those based in Gurgaon in south of New Delhi. This will hopefully bring more Filipino tourists to India in the same way that the embassy's initiatives on less restrictive visa procedures and visa on arrival entry requirements for Indians have pumped up the number of tour groups visiting the Philippines, including those in the education sector. According to the Department of Tourism, visitors from India to the Philippines in February 2013 registered at 4,136, Mr. Chair, or 18% higher than for the same period in 2012, which was 3,491. So exchanges are going up. And I'm close to my conclusion. Other notable people-to-people exchanges are seen in the huge number of Indian alumni from the Asian Institute of Management in Makati City, in Metro Manila, plus the constant number of Indian student pilots who are enrolled in Philippine flying schools. When I was director of Central and South Asia Division, I counted more than 500 Indian student pilots, either renewing their licenses in the Philippines or studying to become pilots. And now they're flying for Indian carriers. Indians from the tribal northeast states such as Assam, Nagaland, Meghalaya, Tripura, Manipur, and Mizoram find affinity with the tribal groups in northern Philippines, such as those from Abra, Benguet, Kalinga Apayao, and Cordillera Autonomous Region, with whom there is some cultural affinity. My ambassador, His Excellency Benito Valeriano, comes at a time of renewed interest in the dynamic Philippine-India bilateral relations. In partnership with all relevant stakeholders, the strategic impetus animating both countries would receive a boost in the months to come. And going beyond India, we have had experience in sharing our e-learning capabilities with the government of Bhutan in the past. In other parts of South Asia, from Nepal, for instance, more than 500 Nepalis are enrolled in Philippine medical schools. And mind you, these are happening even without formal MOUs. So on the ground, the reality has gone on ahead of our government. So we find that the government structures would need to catch up with what is happening among the peoples. So that's the reality. And I already mentioned my role in furthering closer Afghanistan-Philippines education cooperation. So thank you very much.